Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's your boy Circus, and we are back this week to tackle the Bastiladon for my Seraphon army. We're going to be working with the Turbo Dork color shift paints, and we're going to be experimenting with some different colors to see how the shell on the Bastiladon comes out with the color shift. So we're going to go down to the workbench really fast, and I'm going to show you guys my Bastiladon all primed up with the black glossy primer from Greenstuffworld, and then we'll head on over to the airbrush station so you guys can take a look at the color shift and see how it turns out in the end. So let's go. Okay, so now that we're over at the workbench here, I got the Bastiladon. I pretty much primed this in gloss surface primer, so I'm pretty sure there's numerous ways that I could have did this better, but this model was already built and ready to go. The lot that I had bought was from a previous owner that had the Seraphon models already built, so I'm kind of shot in the foot on that because I have to not do everything sub-assembly. I have to do it already built. So we have this surface primer here. This is the Greenstuffworld gloss surface primer. I was told to get this from a video that I had watched. I forget the tutorial that I had watched, but there's a number of different tutorials on YouTube you can check out. So Greenstuffworld makes a bunch of different products, actually some really good stuff. I actually got a bunch of different rollers for bases and things that I did with my Night Haunt. So check out Greenstuffworld if you need some more things to expand your hobby. But this particular primer is a gloss surface primer, so it isn't just a regular matte primer. This is going to have a little gloss to it, as you can see the shell that I've already painted here. And what that does with the color change paints is that's going to bring out that shine, but also show the transition between color. So Turbo Dork is the line that I decided to go with. I have all my paints scattered out here. It's a mess, I know, because I've just been trying to decide on which paints that I want to use. But yeah, if you can see here, there's a bunch of different cool names and also cool different types of colors that you can see here. Like the one here is called The Ground is Lava, which is kind of like a orange going into a red. And then you have something called Shell Shocked, which is like a purple going into like a green. So this is a cool color. I could totally see Seraphon having a color change shell because it actually meshes very well with the army. So this shell and my idea behind this shell and what I'm going to do with it is I'm not going to use a paintbrush to go over this because it does take about 7 or 8 layers to coat the shell. So you would have to go up and down when you paint the first time, then you go left and right, and that would get it painted over and covered pretty good. The underside of the belly is probably going to be like more of a neutral color that I'll just paint with the paintbrush. That won't be shiny or anything like that. The shell is just going to stand out. So here I have 2 skinks here that I covered up, so when I go to airbrush I won't be hitting them. Even though it kind of doesn't matter, I could just go back and paint the skinks later, which is going to be a pain, but the shell is what's more important and what's going to look cool. So that is what I have in place for that shell. I think the color I'm going to go with is going to be the Shell Shocked, and that is the purple going into the green, and it's a nice cool color shift paint. These paints are really thin, so you don't have to wet them down, or you don't have to water them down, get them super thin. You pretty much just put them right through the airbrush and they're ready to go. So we're gonna head on over to the airbrush table and we're gonna start spraying the shell. We're probably gonna do about 7 or 8 coats and see what it's looking like from there. So let's head on over there. All right, guys, we're over here at the workbench now, and we're gonna go ahead and pour some of the paint into the airbrush to get it ready and prepared. This paint is super duper thin, so my version of paint that I have is very thin, but the one they sell now is actually a lot thicker, so it's probably gonna take about 7 to 8 coats. So as you can see right here, we have the Bastiladon is actually wrapped up. I have some blue painter's tape that I use to cover the skinks, but I soon realized that I didn't need the paper on top of the skinks just because the paint wasn't really affecting the white primer that they had coated on top of them. So right now I'm just building up the layers slowly by surely, just steady building up, and then you'll start to see the transition with the Bastiladon as the layers start to add up. So after each coat, I would just use the airbrush to kind of blow over the Bastiladon and kind of just set it down and let it dry for a little bit, or I would just use the airbrush to blow it. And then once I saw that the layer would settle in, I would go to the next layer. So this is pretty straightforward. You just rotate it and you'll see the little glossy paint hitting the Bastiladon shell, and you'll see it start to slowly just cake up and add up onto the miniature. And so I just kept rotating. It was kind of hard without a base, so I just kept grabbing his ankle and just flopping him around as I got the paint on the underside of the shell. So now you can kind of see on the Bastiladon shell, you can kind of see like a white residue that's on there, and that is the paint that's actually starting to build up, and it still looks like it's black for a long period of time until voila, you'll start to see the paint just shine through, and then eventually that last coat, like once you get around 6th or 7th coat, you'll start to see it just build up and you'll see the color transition. So this is what we have after the Bastiladon is done being sprayed. You can see the green transitioning into the purple, and it looks fantastic. So here's a close-up. I'm going to actually adjust the camera so you guys can see kind of from the top. And it's pretty cool because depending on how the light shines on the shell, you can see the different transition go from purple to green. So I'm going to experiment with my next Bastiladon and probably try a different color, and I'll show you guys the results for that too as well. So now I'm going to paint the rest of the details, and that should be it. All right, guys, so there you have it. I just showed you guys how to get the color change paints onto the Bastiladon. I want to know down in the comments below what color you chose to do your Bastiladon, and if you have a Seraphon army. Please go ahead and like and subscribe on the page, and definitely comment down below your thoughts on this process, and if you have tried the Turbo Dork paints. I'll leave a link in the description too below that you can check out the Turbo Dork paints line and see if you like any of the paints and use them on some of your miniatures. So without further ado, thank you guys for all the love and support. I appreciate you coming in and checking out my channel, and I hope you guys have a great week. Peace out.
I turn it up as loud as possible so you can hear it. Being yourself in a world of fake, so many fear it. It's kind of sad when you listen to these phony